Hey guys, welcome back to the Filmaholic. Today we're doing another episode of the One Tree Hill Rewatch. We're going to start with episode 108, which is called The Search for Something More, and we're going to finish with episode 12. So we start with episode 8. It's, picks up after the party in the last episode in 7 at Dan's house, and this one is really about Brooke and Peyton and their friendship and them going to the party. It's supposed to be at Duke, which this is another thing about this episode which I found interesting is they're supposed to be going to Durham. They're supposed to be going to Duke for this college party. And they film all of this in Wilmington. Even when Lucas takes Brooke back later in the episode to pick up her car, it's at the river court. This is from a different angle. They film the college out front of the college at the courthouse downtown, which they've already filmed at. So it's really awkward. I feel like in season 1 they were just trying to figure out North Carolina, like the creators and the writers and different things. There's different moments where, for example, the Duke one, Durham is like at least 2 hours away from Wilmington. They wouldn't be going to a college party there, most likely. There's other things they could have written that would have been better. They mention in the city several times, like they're a little confused of how they want to portray Tree Hill. Charlotte, kind of, they do that within the show at some points. So anyway, they go to this party. Things don't work out for Brooke there. Peyton ends up meeting this guy. They hang out in their room, or his room, and he drugs her. And that happens. Luckily, Brooke stops it before it goes any further. She calls Lucas. Lucas comes to the rescue, kind of beats up the guy, gets the drugs. They find out what it was. They find out she was roofied, and they go take Peyton home and take care of her. Also in this episode, it's really the blossom of the Nathan and Haley relationship. They go on a date that Brooke sets up for an apology from the last episode, and everything goes pretty well except when Tim shows up and Nathan acts somewhat embarrassed by Haley, like he's afraid to admit their relationship, which causes a problem, obviously. By the end of the episode, Nathan comes to her house, they kiss, and we get the Haley relationship. I'm surprised kind of that WB let them do this with the Peyton storyline in the episode. Just this overall show is a learning experience for people if they watch it. It teaches them lessons. It, helps them grow. Thought this was a good episode, another well-written episode. We move on to the next episode, which is the 9th episode. The original air date was November 18th, 2003, which made it the mid-season finale of season 1. It's weird because I didn't watch season 1 live, so I never think about this episode as the mid-season finale. I think about episode 13 as the mid-season finale because it's such a big cliffhanger. This one, I understand why it was the mid-season finale, though. It's a really good episode, one of the best episodes in season 1, I think, and that's the episode where Nathan is taking drugs to enhance his performance, ends up collapsing on the court. You get this moment with Nathan and Dan in the hospital, which comes up later in, other seasons. Peyton realizes that Lucas and Brooke are together. You get this awkward moment at the end. That was, I guess, this part of the mid-season finale of that was Peyton comes to talk to Lucas and tell him she wants to be with him, and when she gets there, Brooke is in his hoodie. So you get that, really push that Nathan and Haley relationship even further. He comes to her, he leaves the hospital, leaves his parents, he comes to her. And I think it was a good stopping point for that mid-season finale at the time. Then we get to the mid-season premiere, You Gotta Go There to Come Back, which originally aired in January 2004. And Nathan is taken by Dan in this episode to a hotel, a golf course. It was originally a trip planned for Dan and Deb, kind of like an apology from Dan to Deb, and she insisted that he take Nathan instead. Really pushes their relationship, shows how terrible it is, how Dan just tries to pick Nathan apart. You get all of that in this episode. Brooke ends up getting Lucas to get a tattoo. There's a whole thing in this episode where Lucas is kind of acting, I guess, rebellious when there's an argument between him and Keith. There's a struggle on that. You got the Deb finding Lucas and Brooke getting condoms. It's another, it's an episode 1 feel to it. Intimate, real, and just focuses mainly on relationships and characters, which I think they did perfectly, and also pushes, the music, once again, just building on the good music in the show. In this episode, we get Gavin DeGraw performs live at Karen's Cafe. They have this open mic night. You also get Jake, played by Brian Greenberg, performing a song called Lonely World. Love the ending where you see the pretty much the team outside of the official team playing on the river court, and then Lucas invites Nathan there and they play, and you have this really, really great shot of Whitey and Keith in the car watching the game and them saying, I wonder where they're all headed. And then we get to episode 11, The Living Years. Original air date was January 27th, 2004. This episode, Haley kind of goes different than what she usually is, and she kind of lets loose with Nathan, who is, he's quit the basketball team, and they're filling the free time together. They go to the beach house. There's this awesome moment where Dan finds them at the beach house and is taking them to the car, and Haley, drunk, throws up on Dan's lap. Really funny scene, especially, this. I love rewatching these moments at having seen the whole series and looking back and being like, wow, like, looking at this scene and then looking at these scenes later and like how they, this is all people's lives, and it's really nice. Brooke kind of becomes jealous of Lucas and Peyton's relationship in this episode, which she has every right to be, as we see. But just, it was another good episode. And then we start getting to the big stuff here. We get to episode 12, Crash Course in Polite Conversation. The original air date was February 3rd, 2004. And this episode is Dan's birthday, right? And his parents come to town for his birthday, not knowing that him and Deb are split up. Deb comes to Dan and tells him they're at the house, like he needs to tell them the news, and he's like, well, we're trying to work on our marriage. Why let them get in the way? Let's just pretend like everything's normal for a night and then send them on their way. So that's what they end up doing. Once again, one of the best episodes of the season, because it really puts all of these people together and all hell breaks loose. Like, as far as like, everything, all these truth coming out, this truth about Dan that we didn't know. This is another episode that like chips away at that brick that's revealing the inside of everything of Dan. And you find out that his knee injury didn't actually end his career. He ended his career, and he let the knee injury be a way out. Big reveal, says a lot about the character moving forward. Reveals a lot about him and his dad and how that plays into part how he is with Nathan. Obviously, it's revealed in that episode to the grandparents that Nathan has quit basketball, which he ends up deciding to go back to because he needs to beat his dad. Keith and Whitey also come to the dinner. Obviously, Keith would be there because, well, that's his parents too. And you just see the dynamic between the parents and Dan and Keith, how obviously Dan was the favorite, especially to the dad. Keith definitely has more, better relationship with his mom, but it doesn't seem like he's that attached to either one. With the whole Dan's parents thing too, what really bugs me is we never see them again, right? Like, this is the one episode that they come in and we never see them again, and we know stuff that happens later in the show that I don't want to get into yet, but it really, like, I've never understood why they don't come back, at least for one episode. And it's just really kind of awkward, and like I feel like it should have been explained or mentioned why they don't come back, but Maybe they just didn't want to recast. Maybe they felt like it was too much time away from other characters, but it felt important to me. Also in this episode, you get the whole situation with Peyton's dad being lost at sea and her having to go and identify a body that they found, which Lucas goes with her. Brooke decides it's a better choice for Lucas to go with her because he can handle the situation better, and Brooke will stay at the house. And if there's a phone call revealing that her dad is not that dead body and somewhere else. So this happens. Lucas and Peyton have to stay in a hotel overnight together. Nothing happens. Everything goes well. Dad's not dead. The body is somebody else. They go back to the hotel though, and they start hooking up. It doesn't go that far, but they do make out. Things get heavy, and then they stop because of Brooke. It's like a realization. But the episode ends with knowing that obviously they still did cheat, and it's something that's going to happen in the future episodes where it's going to be a breaking point. Like, she tells Lucas, it didn't mean anything, and he's like, it didn't, and she's like, of course it did. So that something big is coming between all these three characters, and this is like the start, the beginning of that wave. Yeah, I think one of the best written episodes of the season. Also, once again, some good music in it. But yeah, so this is my episode 3 of my One Tree Hill rewatch. I got episode 4 coming. I actually got further ahead than I thought, rewatching all this stuff. So I'm just kind of shooting some of these episodes, breaking them down into like smaller segments. And I'll see you guys in episode 4.